somewhere in the middle where I can hear.
It's reserved. I think so. Just trying to figure out where.
It couldn't be reserved. There's no way.
What works.
Why not?
That's just going to be in the way of the microphone. But
You want me to move the mic so you can push that button? Or you could go down the center. Or
it might be.
here. Okay.
I'm sure they've.
Don't you want to go by? Yeah. Or you want to sit there? Okay. If not, if you're going to sit there, you're going to have people coming to the mic.
That's true. What are they going to do? Where should we go, Campy? We should go on that. See how wide that aisle is on that side.
sit. I'll sit here behind him. Where? Stuck up. It's full, no? Is it full?
Yep.
Oh, it's sold out?
I'm not sure.
It was free, so it might have sold out. Oh, this is good.
Where can I sit here? No, yeah.
Wait, let me examine and see if there's anybody there.
Excellent. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Rabbi Green.
Good to see you. Good to see you too.
Two summers that I was here, if I like you over, they told our my daughter, Rabbi Green, said, stand, I can stand myself up.
That's my father.
Just. Well, that's pretty good.
I was thinking.
Hello, friends. Well, it's good to be here with you. I'd like to share a couple of little bits of housekeeping ask for a favor, and then we'll introduce a friend. So the thing that I would like to share with everybody is we do have restrooms. I know you're surprised. They are outside these doors, and to the left in our social hall, you will find restrooms over that way. We do have emergency exits. I'm not planning on needing them tonight, but it is good to know that they are here in this space, right behind those doors and off to the side. But whenever we enter and exit, we go through our lobby where we're all greeted by Tony, who loves to learn new Hebrew words. So, also like to share that if our sound system is set up, so we do have headphones for anybody who might benefit from them to hear sound more clearly. We do have audio headphones to help with the sound, as well as a loop that can connect to most hearing assistance devices. So they are right outside on the table. I'm going to do one other thing with you and just ask for you to turn to someone you do not know in your area and introduce yourselves and share your names. It's important to know who we're sitting with. Lovely. Thank you very much. And there we go. So friends, I think it's good to know who we're sitting with, because this is a place where we want to create a brave space. I can't ever promise a safe space, but we do want to try and make a brave space. And by doing that means that I need to know who's with me and who I'm surrounded by, and how we can be a little vulnerable and courageous together. I'm very grateful that Motus Theater is here with us, and I'm going to invite our friend Christian to come forward, share a little bit more about what's happening tonight and who with.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, / maybe evening. Hi, thank you so much. My name is Cristian Solano Cordova. And I am a monologuist with Motus Theater's Indocumerica project, as well as Director of Communications Outreach and Development. At Motus Theater, we create original theater to facilitate dialogue on critical issues of our time. We use the power of art to build alliances with diverse segments of our communities. And I am really happy to be in community with y'all tonight. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Congregation Har HaShem, for having me, and obviously our co-sponsoring JCC and Bonai Shalom. I should have asked. God, thank y'all so much for welcoming me. I'm really excited to share with you my story. We're going to co-read it with Rabbi Fred Green, as well as Rabbi Mark Soloway. And the aim is that we can more deeply understand the impact of immigration policy and anti-immigrant rhetoric on the lives of undocumented people. This monologue and many others were created in collaboration with each storyteller and Motus Theater's Artistic Executive Director, Kirsten Wilson. During the monologue reading, we'll have the pleasure of listening to acclaimed Colorado violinist Anthony Salvo. There he is. He will play an underscore that he and Kirsten developed together. Then, after the monologue, we'll also have some time for reflection, after which Cantor Devorah Avery will sing a musical response for us. And finally, we'll have a short Q&A with y'all at the end of the program. We strengthen our spiritual well-being and build stronger communities and a stronger country when we listen and learn from the experiences of those who rarely have the chance to share their own stories on our stages or in the media. In that spirit, I want to share with you that Motus will be premiering a brand new monologue project at the end of the month. It's called Youth Behind and Beyond Bars, which shares powerful, artistically crafted personal stories from people who, as youth, survived incarceration in adult prisons. These moving autobiographical monologues lift the curtains on the realities of the juvenile legal system while inspiring action toward true justice. The premiere is May 31st at the Boulder Public Library's Canyon Theater, 7 to 9 p.m. Tickets are free, and you can RSVP using information in the program. And there are more programs up at the front table. Before we proceed, I'd just like to remind y'all to please silence your cell phones so that we can all, yay, silence cell phones. People are excited about it. So we can, listen to the stories and the music and just be in the moment, right? So before we proceed, I'd like to invite Rabbi Mark Soloway and Rabbi Fred Green to come up and say a few words about why we're gathered here today, after which we will have the pleasure of listening to a nigun by Cantor Avery. Oh, and Mark Soloway. I'm sorry, him too. They're both singing.
I feel very honored and moved to be part of this. We've just spent some time together and got to understand a little bit more about who Christian is and more of his story. And I've been an admirer from a distance of the work of Motus Theater for a long time. And I just feel like it's so important to be able to listen to stories of people whose experience is so different to our own. Tonight, in the Jewish calendar, it's Lag BaOmer, which is a festival which, apart from lots of other things, is really about where we honor our teachers. And I think in Jewish tradition, our teachers come in many different forms. And tonight, Christian is my teacher. And so I think it's a good way to honor this festival where we honor teachers, to celebrate Lag BaOmer in this way. So thanks for including me.
My name is Rabbi Fred Green. I'm part of the clergy team here at Congregation Har HaShem. And I feel moved because with so much chaos and disunity and hatreds, I want to try and have a way to return to a simple teaching in the Torah where everybody is created in God's image. And if you believe that truly, then it changes everything. And that there is no one who is created in vain. And if that's the case, then we have to strive and stretch to be more deeply human. And that requires learning and listening, growing empathy, and responding in very real ways. So that's why I'm here, to try and do that.
I'm Cantor Devorah Avery. I am also on the clergy team here at Har HaShem, and I'm carrying a lot from the time that we spent together before this. And some of our teachers taught that this nigun, this wordless melody, is a wonderful way for the feeling that is inside of us, the prayers of our hearts, to more easily come out without the worry of words. So we invite you to join us in singing this wordless melody, this nigun.
Yai, lai, 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 yai, ai, 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 ya la 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 la, ay 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 ay
Thank y'all so much. It was beautiful. Thank y'all so much. So we're about to transition to reading my story. This autobiographical monologue is entitled The Meaning of Courage, which I have the pleasure of co-reading with Rabbis Fred Green and Mark Salloway. I hope it will fill you with courage, just as my mom's journey has taught me to be courageous enough to share my story despite a really intense political climate. When I was my baby sister's age, I didn't have many worries. And it's funny because my baby sister, the Nayi, well, she's an American citizen, so it should be easier for her.
But it's not, especially right now, because the people she loves the most, my mom, our other sister Biba, and I are all undocumented. When we are threatened, she is threatened. My baby sister is forced to bear the burden of political attacks on immigrants.
I remember election night, 2016. My mum and I were in complete shock, trying to absorb what had just happened to the country. trying to strategize how to handle certain possibilities. I remember frantically Googling what happens to a US citizen child if an undocumented parent is deported.
My dad died young, so I needed to assure myself that if my mom was deported, my sister Beba or I could get custody of the Nayi, who at the time was only 8. But then, of course, what would happen if Beba and I were both deported?
My mom and I totally lost track of time during our election night panic. So, when hours later I came downstairs, I was surprised to find my baby sister, Denai, wide awake, sitting in a corner by herself, crying, red-faced with puffy eyes.
With my dad gone, I've always had to be the big brother, or rather father figure, since my mom was always working. I helped Denai with her homework. We read each other bedtime stories, played games. I tried to answer those unanswerable kinds of kid questions and comfort her when she was scared. But I'm not used to trying to comfort her when in reality I needed so much comforting myself.
I remember tilting your chin, glistening with streams of tears toward me, looking into those deep brown eyes and trying my best to give her soothing answers to difficult questions, and just repeating,
Don't cry, baby, don't cry. It's going to be okay, I promise. It's going to be okay. Listen, why would you be deported? Do you even know what that means? You shouldn't have to.
Listen to me. You are an American citizen. You will never be deported. You're right, I'm not a citizen, but I've got DACA. They can't deport me. I know Mum doesn't, but Mum is going to be okay. She's lived here for decades. She is not going anywhere. Baby, don't cry. Please.
I promise, whatever happens, we'll be together, always. I'll be there to put Band-Aids on your scraped knees.
I'll be there to help you with your school projects.
Yes, we're going to finish reading Harry Potter together.
And I'll be by your side when you need help applying for college.
I'll be there for when you fall in love for the first time and when your heart is broken. I'll walk you down the aisle one day. It really doesn't matter where, as long as we're together.
And yes, of course the puppy's coming with us if we go. Lulu's part of the family too, I'll have you know.
Yeah, that's the dimply smile I like to see. It's gonna be okay.
At least, that's what I told her. Did my best to offer her what I wanted to hear, what I wanted to believe for both her and our entire family.
Because how do you talk to a child about being taken from their parent or siblings without terrorizing them, without stripping them of their innocence?
Then, with each day of the first Trump administration, watching kids taken from their parents at the border, the increased deportations of parents like my mom, the attempts to end the DACA program that protects me and my sister Beba from deportation, the willingness to end rules preventing children from being indefinitely detained, even threats to strip children like Denai of her citizenship. With all these mounting threats against my family, it felt increasingly cruel for me to offer my baby sister what amounts to be a fairy tale, when she might need great strength to overcome great threats.
So today, I offer her and you another story. This story won't kiss it and make it all better, but I'm hoping it will help us stay strong regardless of the challenges we might face.
I was 3 years old, and my sister Beba was just 1 when we crossed the border with my mum. We walked together with a group of people, maybe 10 to 15 across the desert.
And we walked for hours and hours at night. I remember we were out in the middle of nowhere following some dim silver light in the distance. I imagined we followed it because it meant we were going the right way, some shining city on a hill.
We finally got to a raised road lined with street lamps. To avoid walking over the road that night and potentially being seen, we crossed through a drainage tunnel under the road. Mom had me walk through the tunnel in front of her as she crawled behind with my sister in her shawl.
Beba and I were wearing those little kids' light-up shoes that everyone was going crazy over that year. Mom had saved up a lot of money to buy them because we were going to be seeing our dad after a year of him being in the US on his own, and she wanted us to look our best. The shoes were actually super helpful in the drainage tunnel to light the way for our mom and all the other people crawling through on their hands and knees. But of course, in the dead of night, they were a dead giveaway.
When we were finally able to see the moonlight at the end of the tunnel and catch a whiff of fresh air, the coyote urgently requested that my mom take off my shoes. "There's a border patrol car parked outside," he whispered.
The drainage tunnel emptied out right next to a gas station where the Border Patrol car was parked. The officers were inside, we assumed, so we waited for a while, hoping they would return to their car and drive away. But no one was coming out. And for some reason, the coyotes grew impatient and abruptly told everyone to move.
In the chaos, everybody immediately scrambled, crawling behind tall grass on their hands and knees as the coyotes gave us voiceless commands with their fingers on their lips and pointing to the ground. But the ground was covered in cactus thorns and prickles, and I didn't have any shoes while everybody else crawled. My mum stood up, carrying both Beba and me in her arms, and she just started walking.
And at first I thought she was giving up because we'd surely be seen. I mean, everyone else was still crawling on the ground. But she stood up tall and walked with a defiant pep in her step, as if she belonged right there where she stood.
That's when I realized she hadn't given up. She just had faith that walking quickly and quietly was her best strategy to protect us. She was resolved that somehow, somewhere we would be okay, and that we would find a home where our family could thrive.
I've never forgotten the look on my mum's face as she walked out into the darkness of an unknown country. That is when I first learned that the real meaning of courage is not to pretend to be immune from fear, but rather to calmly and steadily take action in spite of it.
And some might caricature my little 3-year-old self as a diseased toddler criminal murder rapist gang member in the making. They have succeeded in scaring many good people who don't know undocumented immigrants into thinking that a mother carrying her children to safety is nothing less than an invasion.
But Beba and I grew up beloved by our friends and neighbors and strong members of our communities. We both went to college.
I even became the student body president of MSU Denver. I'm not part of some invading army fighting against America. But like many of you, I'm fighting for the American ideals I know we can live up to.
Leaders in the administration still want to take away my baby sister's right to citizenship. But I remain hopeful that my baby sister, or maybe some other young lady in this audience tonight, might one day be our future president and help lead us to a future where we actually live up to our ideals, to truly have liberty and justice for all.
But that reality is going to take a lot of hard work, and not just on my part, or just on the part of the immigrant community, but hard work on your part too.
We each have courageous opportunities to treat others as we hope to be treated, and never just standing idly by when another's civil and human rights are threatened, because your rights might be next. Even the smallest acts can have the biggest impact.
As Anne Frank once wrote in her famous diary, how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Thank you. Thank you all so much for holding space for my story in your place of worship. It means so much to me. But now we will transition to a short Q&A, so bear with us because we're going to move. But before we do, please welcome Cantor Avery for her musical response.
One of the prayers we recite in Jewish liturgy is Shalom Rav, and it asks that God spread a great peace over Israel and over the world. This setting that I'm about to share by Alana Arian pairs that text with a text that is inspired from the book of Isaiah. Make of us a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. This is a yearning, a deep hope. Courage comes into play when each of us has the courage to do our part. We can't simply sing these words and hope they come true. We have to pair the words with action. With our help, peace in Judaism speaks of wholeness and completeness. And if we are each not free and safe and whole, none of us is. And that great peace we pray for remains out of reach for all. May we each have the courage to do our part, to speak out against injustices that keep people hoping for their own completeness, their own home, their own safety in fear and in danger. And may we find the courage to bring about completeness and peace. The completeness and peace we seek through actions of tikkun or repair, kindness and love. Make of us a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Make of us a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Please join in if you've caught onto the words, and if not, la 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 works too. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Make of us Make of us a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people. In wholeness and in love. Make of us a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people. In wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was gorgeous. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to transition to kind of a reflection portion of the show. So if y'all would join me on stage. And while they come up here, let's also take a moment to just kind of get back in our bodies. You know, I know my story can be kind of heavy. And I think the music was the perfect medicine to help us. But let's take a couple breaths. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and just notice what you're feeling in your body in response to this story. All right. How's everyone feeling? So, before any questions, I wanted to just open up to y'all in the audience. What most impacted you from my story? Does anybody have a comment or two to share? And we have mics on either side. Actually. Oh, thank you. Oh. All right, we have a couple folks up here.
Thank you very much. I work with a lot of the homeless people, and a lot of the people that I have encountered, not recently, are Venezuelan refugees. And your story is their story. And when I think of, for example, the one young couple I encountered, a young man and a woman that I thought was his sister, holding perhaps a baby sister, that was his wife. And the baby was very much an infant. And obviously, the baby was born on their journey from Venezuela to get across the border. So that's how you have impacted me.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I was surprised that there wasn't more anger.
Oh, there is. Just not in the story.
Primeramente, gracias. Thank you. I'm from Venezuela. I'm a naturalized citizen. I've been here for many years. And for the first time, I don't feel safe out there. I walk around with a copy of my passport, and that's not even a guarantee, because Venezuelans, unfortunately, we're the target group right now. Your story is their story right now, and even though as a Venezuelan I have a different story, I'm also an immigrant. And so your story, of course, resonates very deeply for me because of what my people's going through. And my family that is still in Venezuela, my 3 siblings, are enduring a horrible, horrific dictatorship where everyone has just been impoverished. And I could go on and on that. But the news don't reflect everything that is really happening. But I want to thank you for your courage to stand up, tell your story, reach out to different communities. Also, being descendant of Jews and Venezuelan, and being against the Venezuelan government, I cannot even go back to Venezuela right now. So I think what's really important is to have your story, and like you, many of the stories that many people are enduring in many countries. I know it's not just unique to the continent here, because I know Israel is also enduring horrors, as Ukraine, and we could go on the list. But I would just want to really, muchas gracias por tu valentía y por tener el coraje de estar aquí con todos nosotros, y te apoyamos. Gracias.
Pues de nada, es un placer. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, we have a person back there. Do you have any other folks? Raise your hand so we can take a count. All right, and then another couple folks up here. Back there? Yes.
Me? I was tremendously moved by your story. And the cantor, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten your name. Devorah Avery, that amazing response, a home for everyone. And for me, that epitomized your story. I can't use profanity in a synagogue, but what is a home for everyone? Do all humans deserve a home? Does a line on a piece of paper determine what's home and not the home? I mean, your story is heartbreaking. That any person, especially a young person, would have to be concerned about whether or not they have a home. So thank you for that. And thank you for the amazing response, because they go hand in hand. We're talking about home. We're talking about a house for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you. What really hit me was your little sister and the impact that has on kids that don't quite understand what's going on. I'm in a lot of schools, and attendance for immigrants, whether they're here legally or not legally, has been horrible, which means these kids are losing their education. And it just is, it's absolutely horrendous. And I appreciate you sharing your story.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for doing the work you do. Yes, back here.
Cristian, gracias. Muchas gracias por todo. Could you reread the part of the story where you define the meaning of courage? That really resonated to me. I want to absorb that, and I want to think about examples in my life where I feel the meaning of courage, because they're not extremely easy to find these days.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Christian,
yes.
Can I say something before you respond?
Please.
Because I want to give her an example of courage.
Yeah.
I was sitting here sobbing, and she put her hand on my back. So for me, that's an example of courage in action.
Gracias. Es muy fácil cuando hay una persona muy cariñosa y bonita como Alexis.
Your accent is really good, by the way. Yeah, so while everyone else crawled, my mom stood up, carrying both Beba and me in her arms, and she just started walking. And at first, I thought she was giving up because we'd surely be seen. I mean, everyone else was still crawling on the ground, but she stood up tall and walked with a defiant pep in her step, as if she belonged right there where she stood. That's when I realized she hadn't given up. She just had faith that walking quickly and quietly was her best strategy to protect us. She was resolved that somehow, somewhere, we would be okay, and that we'd find a home where a family could thrive. I've never forgotten the look on my mom's face as she walked out into the darkness of an unknown country. That is when I first learned that the real meaning of courage is not to pretend to be immune from fear, but rather to calmly and steadily take action in spite of it. Thank you. I just realized home in that line, it totally hits your song. So thank you for your response. Do we have any other folks? Yes.
You asked what image really moved us, and thanks to Julie, that moment that moved me so is the one you just read. And so I want to thank you for this image that is forever in my spiritual heart of your mother, standing tall in that courage. And no words. So I'm wondering if you'd be willing just to share her first name, so as I hold that image, I can hold her that way in my heart too.
Yeah, her name is Larissa, or Larissa. Yeah.
Larissa.
Yeah. I think it means like poem or something in Greek. Any other responses? Thankfully, she's still living in Aurora. Yeah, you know, the worst hasn't happened yet, at least for my family. But I'm always thankful that I still have her around, you know. Do I have any more reflections from folks? Yes. So now, thank you. Thank you all so much for your reflections. Now it's my turn to ask reflections of the rabbis. What a treat. Thank you all so much for reading my story. You know, whenever we do this co-read kind of monologue presentation, we always ask these two very specific questions. First, what most impacted you upon hearing my story as a human being? And then what most impacted you reading the story, but as your role as a faith leader, a rabbi in your communities?
You want us to take...
We do this a lot.
What?
You go first. No, you go first.
Do you want us to answer both questions together, or take one and then the second one?
How about first and then second?
Okay. So, I feel so moved. I'm like, I feel like I'm so aware of my privilege. I didn't grow up in this country. I grew up in England. I came here. I was able to get a work visa, which turned into a green card, which turned into citizenship, and there were no obstacles in my way. I'm grateful to the community that helped me do that. But so my privilege just makes me aware how utterly different my experience is to your own, and just, you know, getting to know you a little piece this evening and see your tenderness and your love and your humanity, and just to be able to look into your eyes and see how this story is just who you are, and just the the reality that most humans have the capacity to stop seeing other humans as humans. And unless we're able to just be in someone's presence and hear their story and see their shining eyes and feel the love and the pain and the brokenness and the anger and all of it in their hearts, that's how dehumanization happens. And it happens everywhere, and I'm as capable of it as any other human being. And so I just feel very grateful and privileged and deeply moved to have this incredible honor to share in the telling of your story. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a couple of very practical things that bubble up inside of me. One is, I can't possibly begin to imagine taking my 3 young children on a journey like that. I just can't imagine, and yet there are so many who are doing that, who have done that, and through the centuries. And then I take the other side of the coin from my little family into my more recent ancestors who would not talk at all about their experiences. How one grandmother, and the only thing I know is that, early 1900s, of course, pogrom, these riots and attacks, hidden beneath the house as a young child. I don't know how she left what was then Poland and got to Belgium when she was 12. Nobody would talk about it, right? And then coming to this country. And her process to become a citizen was in her 60s, and felt such gratitude. And I have to balance this incredible gratitude with this incredible anger of what we witness. And when I look at both pieces of the coin, I think about, again, that definition of courage you shared and what we need to do with that.
Thank you for sharing.
Second question?
Yes. Now, what most impacted you in your role as a faith leader, as a rabbi in your communities?
I think it's I had an answer, but it's, in the moment it feels like a really important and a really complicated question. I think there is a saying that the job of a rabbi is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable.
I was thinking the same thing.
And I think that often...
Totally.
I stole his line.
Totally. Well, keep talking, because I have to think of something new.
But it's such, so much of my job in a crazy, messed up world right now is to give people comfort. And the people who I give comfort to have very different views of the world and very different opinions and very different ideologies and very different practices. And it's like, in that situation, when I'm providing comfort to somebody who is triggered and activated and angry and hurt and grieving and all of those things, it's like, I don't feel in that moment give my view of the world. I'm just there as a presence for them. But when I'm there to afflict the comfortable and just to to speak up. And there are definitely people, even people in this room, who criticize me for not speaking up enough about some issues. But it is so complicated to know when to be silent and when to speak up. And when are those lines crossed where we have to have the moral courage to just stand up and say, enough. And that, walking that line is very tricky. So how this story impacts me is partly about reminding me of the importance of knowing that line and knowing when I'm there to provide comfort and solace and presence and allow people with different opinions to be held in brave and maybe sometimes safe space. And also when more needs to happen, and how, you know, I think both Har HaShem and Bonei Shalom have very active Tikkun Olam social action committees who do amazing work, and some of it they collaborate on, like tonight. And I'm very grateful to have activists within the community who do some of that work for me, or not for me, but on behalf of all of us, of the community. And the other way it impacted me, I mean, it's all, as rabbis, we're always looking for the Torah, for the teaching moments, and like everybody else, I'm so moved by the definition of courage, and there's some very deep Torah in that. And there's a famous story when the crossing of the Red Sea happened of, you know, the Israelites had just escaped from appalling oppression and tyranny, and they're standing there with the Egyptian army chasing them and a sea in front of them, and there's nowhere to go. And the sea parts, but in our tradition it only parts once one individual had the courage to keep walking. Mm-hmm. His name was Nachshon ben Aminadav, and he just started walking, and he walked until the water was up to his mouth, and then the sea parted. And it's just your mother's story and your story sort of connects me to some of our collective stories, some of our stories in our tradition that just remind us of the importance of sometimes we just have to keep walking. We have to be brave, we have to be courageous, we have to walk forward, and knowing that we have amazing community around us. There's much more I could say, but I'm going to stop talking, and hopefully by now Rabbi Green has thought of another line.
No. I was going to talk about Nachshon.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Classic. It's just classic.
I'm sorry.
I believe in the power of sacred laughter, and so even here to have an outburst, I think, is good for us.
Absolutely.
The first thing you said, I really was thinking of. And I know it was written about journalists, but any member of the clergy that I have ever met thinks about it routinely. Because, well, part of the reason is we don't have tenure. And there are people who are clergy who are sometimes afraid about what they say out loud because they will risk, they put their livelihoods at risk. And we know a lot of those people that are out there who have to kind of figure out how to do this delicate dance. I think the older I get, the less delicate I am. And I don't, and I said this, I swear I said this. I recall it very clearly. Even during my interview to come to the synagogue, I told folks that I'm responsible and accountable to more than just the board of trustees. And so, what this is a rabbi means, I keep coming back, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. Today we put a sign on our front door that says, to our congregants and guests and visitors, we are a house open to all people. Come, you're welcome here. And right below it, it says, to ICE and law enforcement, this is private property and you cannot enter without permission. And on one hand, it feels a little vulnerable. And on another hand, of course, right? This is not normal times. And I think as a rabbi, for me, I'm always trying to find my voice and to have Torah be a source of that voice. I don't think I can do it by myself. And so I need Rabbi Mark, and I need Cantor Avery, and I need our clergy friends and colleagues of all stripes and denominations who are going to remember that. I have a third one. To remember, like we say in the Haggadah, my ancestors were also refugees. And if I only look at that as history and not as memory, then I'm missing it. Mm-hmm. It has to be memory, because that lived experience in my ancestral family is being experienced today. And as much as we talk about ancestral wisdom, memory, intergenerational trauma, we can't forget our, just like Mom, an intergenerational resistance.
Yeah.
And you have us too, Rabbi. I know. Just,
Thank y'all both so much. Y'all always bring so much wisdom, and at least for me, it's I've just felt so welcomed here today. You know, it's been, every time I go to a place of worship, like I've never been to one where I haven't been welcomed, and I always come out of the evening or, you know, the performance just, you know, kind of filled to the brim with hope again. And because I know it's hard to hope all the time, you know, and I just really appreciate y'all sharing, you know, wisdom from your faith traditions with your congregants, but also with me. It feels really special, and it feels like I was meant to be here getting these little nuggets of wisdom from y'all. So I want to thank y'all.
Thank you.
So we have a few moments for some Q&A. I know some of y'all are itching to ask some questions, so would y'all like to come up to the mics, or I can actually walk some over? Yes, right up here at the front.
If you can hear me. His story, it's your story. It is your story. You don't know whether your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents came here legally or not. You don't know if they were running away from persecution or hunger or wanted a better way of life. For sure, they didn't come here as visitors and decided to stay. So all of your relatives, all of your families are his story. It may not be exactly the same story, but your mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers all had the courage the courage to leave their home, their language, their cemeteries, their history. They all came here. The waters parted for all of them. They weren't all nice people. Some of them were criminals. Some of them became criminals. So that we have to have some degree of empathy for the immigrants that are coming here, all the immigrants that are coming here. I know, I hear people say, well, there's so many criminals coming in. Well, let me tell you, this isn't the first time criminals came to this country.
Thank you.
You can do them first.
Do we have any other cue? Oh. Oh.
I have a question. Have you ever spoken with your mother, Larissa?
Yeah.
About what was going through her heart and mind when she stood up, when everybody else was on hands and knees?
You know, now that I think about it, I don't think I have.
Well, in your, what do you know her? So what do you think she was thinking in the moment that she chose to stand up?
I mean, I was just telling the rabbis about my mom is, she was the victim of like labor exploitation. And so she had a case for a type of visa called a T visa. And she went to these immigration attorneys and I went with her. But I was just so scared because I'm like, are you sure you want to let the government know you're here right now? And, you know, I tried to stall her for like a month and a half. And she was so mad. She's like, well, I've been praying and God said, keep going. And I was like, but Mom, like the government doesn't care, you know? And she's like, well, I prayed again and God said, keep going. And I was like, okay, like, let's do this, you know? And I personally would be a little bit scared still, but I'm like, I'm gonna support you in your decision, you know, to seek what you need to feel safe, you know? And so taking that just happened, I know my mom to be someone that's like, A, very stubborn, but B, like so much faith that God is leading her the right way. And I think ultimately, like, I don't know how God works. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know. I just think she did just want a better life for us, right? And part of the reason is because she thought I might be gay as a little toddler, and I am. So she was right, you know, so I think she just wanted to protect us, you know. I think at the end of the day, her instinct was right, whether it's me being gay or, you know, us finding a better life here. So I think I hope her instinct is right with the TVs at this time.
She sounds awesome.
We didn't plan this, but I also wanted to talk about that moment, or just share my reflection because I got to read your story a couple weeks ago, and then we got to hear it in Rabbi Green's office, and then I got to hear it here, and each time was very much the same. I just thought of your feet and the prickliness of the grounds, and what I thought is like she stood up in this great act of love, because that would be dangerous for you and painful. And what would it be like if we loved other people in that way, all people, not only our own family, but if we could love all people in that way? And is that what it takes for courage? So.
God, you see so much more in my own writing than I do. But I hear that. I often hear people tell me about the shoes as like this image that sticks to their head. So thank you for sharing. I always, it's like getting reflections back of me from other people, you know? It's like we're mirrors to each other. Thank you. Yes, yes, right in the center.
My parents were both immigrants, and I grew up with a great deal of fear because what they were constantly saying was they were coming for us, they were going to take us away. And of course, as a young man, I was always rebellious and thinking, oh, I won't let that scare me. But I find in listening to your story and hearing more of other people's stories, the other side of this, which is also the capacity to empathize with how scary it must be for so many people right now living here who are frightened. And I find myself, rather than being angry at them for their fear, now understanding how scary it must have been for them. So thank you for that. And I think it's really important for us to understand that. It must be terribly, awfully frightening for so many people in our community right now who are afraid to speak up. I know you talked about courage to speak up, but there's also the other side of people who are scared to speak up. Yeah. Scared to go out, scared to go collect their Social Security check or go to any kind of public office right now because of what might happen to them and how fearful that must be. And I just wanted to thank you because I can understand that and empathize with that as well.
Yeah, thank you. We presented at a Universalist Unitarian congregation a couple weeks ago, and it's like back to back to back administrative onslaughts on everyone's communities, right? It's like K through 12, higher education, like all these things. And before I performed my monologue, my kind of introduction was like, I hope you find courage in this story, not just for me, but because we're all under attack right now, like, whether Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, right? Like, I think a lot of us are living in fear, but we shouldn't let that paralyze us into inaction and going to like scurry and hide in a corner. Like, it should remind us that like we need to keep taking that step forward and trying to do something about it, right? We each can do something. Doesn't always have to be a protest or this or that. We each can affect change in different ways. So thank you for sharing.
One practical aspect, things that we all can do, I carry in my car, these are called red cards. You can just print them on a card stock. You can just Google red card immigration, and one side is, you can print them in various languages. One side's English to give to Border Patrol if they approach your home or ICE. And the other side, the one that I carry, is in Spanish to tell you how to act if somebody comes to your door. I've passed out a couple dozen of these, and I carry them with me. And actually, if I approach somebody, I don't want to make an assumption. So I will give this to them and say, if you know somebody that could use this, please. And then, of course, if the person does not speak English, what I do is I use Google Translate. Not the best, but it works enough. Very simple thing to do and to have available.
Thank you. All right.
And I just wanted to, just following up on what Alan just said, the Bonet Tikkun Olam Committee and the Har HaShem Tikkun Olam Committee are going to have another event that focuses on immigration issues. It's in 3 weeks. It's again a Thursday night. It'll be here. It's June 5th. And it's going to be a panel discussion that is going to focus on what is going on in Boulder County with our immigrant communities and our immigrant friends. It's going to have an immigration attorney that's going to talk about know your rights and what these like Supreme Court cases from today, what they mean to the immigrants in our community. And then there's also going to be someone who's in the trenches from an organization in Longmont that's going to talk about the experience of immigrants and what we can do as allies to help and support. So I hope you'll all come back in 3 weeks and join that discussion as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Like, that's something. Come on. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Well, you too. Thank you. But your congregation. So it gives me so much hope. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Both communities are doing it together.
Y'all give me so much hope. Come on. Thank you. Yes.
I just heard Motus lost its grant from 88.
Yeah.
How is that impacting what you're finding? I just found out that on the news, Motus lost its NEA grant. How is that impacting the organization and how you can continue this important work?
Yeah. Well, luckily we have our artistic executive director in the house.
So this man with 36 felonies, he stole our grant. He's on the loose. I didn't say that. I have my own sacred humor. It's a little to the knife, but it's sacred. No, seriously. One of the most important things that we work with people who, like Christian, who are undocumented. We work with transgender leaders, and we work with people who are formerly incarcerated. All people on the front lines of what we call state-sanctioned violence, really aggressive policies, right? That hurt folks. And when you have so many obstacles coming at you, the way, as so many of you said, so many of your ancestors, you get really good at like, okay, obstacle, how am I going to negotiate this? Because there's only, as his mom did, I just need to keep moving forward. Like, or as the Lakota flutist who I love, Tiokasin Ghost Horse says, in the Lakota we don't have hope. We actually are grateful and we do what is required. Ow. We are grateful and we do what is required. And so Motus is super grateful to be working with these amazing people who were incarcerated, a lot of them starting around 10 or 11. And they're part of the 1% of people who really manage to digest enough of their trauma to try to help other young people not go back into the criminal legal system. So how do you say to somebody like, sorry, we lost our grant, so we're going to cut this. We're not going to cut this. We're going to keep moving forward. We'll do what is required. And you're part of that. Like, you know, we're going to turn to our community, and we'll move forward at the space and the pace that we can move forward. And so it's very humbling. You know, props. What? I like to inspire people to run for office or be kindergarten teachers. All of you who are in public education, thank you. All of you running for office, thank you. Yeah, you are my great gift. But yeah, so we're doing what is required to move forward, and I don't know what that's going to look like. We have contracts with people. They broke our contract, but we have contracts with people to present with, musicians to pay. So we'll figure it out with the help of our community. But I hope you can be there on the 31st over at the library. It's free, with the Reminders, who are amazing inspirational musical performers. And that inspiration is going to help us become more creative, you know. And so we're lucky enough to have Christian on staff. He also does development. He's super creative, and he's used to overcoming obstacles, and he's going to do a great job. So we're grateful for our community, and we'll see what happens.
So come to the show. That's how you can support. All right, y'all. I think we are pretty much over with this show, but before we close out, I just wanted to thank all of you for your reflections, your comments, your questions. Being here gave me a lot of hope tonight. And of course, Rabbi Green, Rabbi Soloway, thank you so much. Thank you so much to both of your congregations. We really appreciate this collaboration. Of course, Cantor Devorah Avery, we appreciate you and your music. Anthony Salvo, our best friend violinist, thank you. And I always love to thank the wonderful Kirsten Wilson. Thank you so much. So thank you, Har HaShem, Bonai Shalom, and Boulder JCC. Thank you all so much for having us tonight. Please come to our premiere. And one last thing, if you also want to help, we have evaluations on the program. Please fill them out. Those really help us quantify how we're doing, get better, but also to qualify for grants, which, hopefully to replace the NEA one. So I hope you give us some feedback, and I hope I see you at the premiere. And with that, thank you so much, and have a great evening. Thank you. Y'all were amazing. I did not know the...
Compassionate in that they view if you don't know somebody's story, you dehumanize them. That's how we prevent. It's the root of conflict. It's the root of why we have the other, the enemy. We don't know their story. Once you know their story, you even see that with Israelis and Palestinians, because once they get together, the story of the other, that's how you perpetuate oppression and conflict and dehumanization. Even we do that in history. We do that in our educational setting.